Disclaimer. This audio recording includes subtitles so you can follow along more intentionally and absorb the ideas at your own pace. Why am I still not happy? Why does everything feel empty, even when I have what I thought I wanted? Is something wrong with me? Why do other people seem genuinely happy, and I feel like I'm just pretending? What if this is just how life is, and I'll never really feel satisfied? If these questions often comes to your mind, then congratulations. You are at right video. Here, we're going to look at what happiness really means, not from a motivational speaker's point of view, but from ancient philosophers, modern psychology, and most importantly, your own experience. We'll ask the questions most people avoid and unpack the difference between chasing happiness and actually understanding it. This isn't about quick fixes. This is about the truth. Before we start, if you're the kind of person who loves questioning the world, challenging assumptions, and seeing things from new angles, hit that like button to boost the convo and subscribe so you don't miss the deep stuff we're dropping here. Because we're just getting started. We've been told happiness is a feeling, a rush, a high, but that's not happiness. That's dopamine. We've confused happiness with excitement, with pleasure, with those short moments that feel good and fade fast. Real happiness isn't an emotion. Emotions come and go. Happiness doesn't have to. It's not just a state of mind, either, like positive thinking. You can think happy thoughts and still feel deeply unsettled inside. If it's not it, then what? Before knowing that, here are some questions that are necessary to understand. Can happiness be measured? Can you quantify it? Or is it always subjective? This question, can happiness be measured? Seems small, but it's shaping your entire life. You've been taught to chase numbers, milestones, proof, as if the more you get, the more you'll feel. But what if the very tools you're using to measure happiness are the reason you don't feel it? If you never stop to question how you define happiness, you might spend your whole life chasing the wrong version of it. So yeah, this question matters. Because if happiness can't be measured, and you're trying to measure it anyway, what exactly are you chasing? We all try to measure happiness. How much money we made this year? How many friends we have? How many things we've done, bought, achieved? But here's the truth. None of those numbers answer the real question. Am I at peace with my life? You've been mistaking achievement for fulfillment. You've been mistaking progress for peace. And worst of all, you've been mistaking pleasure for happiness. So maybe the real problem isn't that you don't have happiness. Maybe it's that you don't know what happiness actually is. That brings us to the next question, one most people never ask. Is there a difference between joy, pleasure, and happiness? And how do philosophers, people who've spent lifetimes thinking about this, actually define them? The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "It is not he who has little, but he who desires more, that is poor." Anicius Boethius, writing from a prison cell, said, "Pleasure is a shadow of happiness. It passes, but leaves us wanting." And Chuang Tzu, the ancient Taoist sage, whispered, "Happiness is the absence of the striving for happiness." Yes, there's a difference. But we mix them up so often that we start chasing one and expecting the results of another. Pleasure. Pleasure is the easiest to get, but the fastest to disappear. It's eating your favorite food, the rush of likes on a photo, a new outfit, a kiss. Philosophers from the Stoics to the Buddhists warned, pleasure isn't bad, but if you make it the goal, it will own you. It's external, addictive, and fleeting. 2. Joy. Joy is deeper, but quieter. It shows up in moments of connection. When you're laughing with a friend, holding someone you love, hearing music that makes you cry. Spinoza described joy as the transition to a greater perfection. It's a movement of the soul. It catches you off guard. And then there's happiness. Philosophers like Aristotle called it eudaimonia, not a feeling, but a flourishing. Happiness is, they said, how your life fits with your values. It's when your actions align with your deeper self. It's not loud. It's not exciting. It's when you wake up and don't feel like you're running. So if you've been chasing pleasure, expecting it to give you happiness. That's why you feel confused. Pleasure is the spark. Joy is the warmth. But happiness is the fire that doesn't burn out. So, what have you been chasing? And when was the last time you asked, is this pleasure or is this peace? There's one question I keep circling back to. Should we always pursue happiness? Is the pursuit of happiness selfish, or is it something noble? This question matters to me because I've chased happiness in every way they said would work. Success, control, approval, achievement, meaning, growth. But sometimes I wonder, was I really searching for happiness, or just running from discomfort? Maybe you felt it too. That low hum of restlessness, even when things are good. That feeling like happiness is always one step ahead, just beyond the next goal or the next version of you. And no matter how hard you chase it, it keeps slipping through. So before we answer it together, I want to ask you honestly, what do you believe about the pursuit of happiness? Is it your right, your duty, your distraction, your mask? Because how you answer that might reveal what you've really been living for. We've all heard it. Follow your happiness. Life is short. Do what makes you happy. But here's something no one tells you. Chasing happiness can sometimes make you feel even further away from it. Have you ever done everything right, worked hard, improved yourself, got the thing you thought would change everything, and still felt that strange emptiness? Like, you should be happy, but you're not? You see, the pursuit of happiness can become just another race. A quieter one, sure, but a race nonetheless. The Stoics believe that if you chase happiness directly, you miss it, because happiness isn't something you grab. It's something that grows when you stop grasping. The Buddha taught that craving, even for something good, creates suffering. Why? Because the more tightly you try to hold on to happiness, the more you fear losing it. In modern life, it's turned happiness into a project, a product, a performance, and that's exhausting. It depends on the kind of happiness you're chasing. If it's about avoiding pain, staying comfortable, and making life easier, then yeah, it can become selfish. But if it's about becoming more whole, more true, more awake, more kind, then it's not selfish at all. It's noble. It's necessary. Because when you find peace inside yourself, you stop needing to take it from others. When you feel whole, you stop using people and things to fill the hole. So maybe the point isn't to pursue happiness like a prize. Maybe it's to create a life where happiness has a place to land. You don't have to stop chasing happiness. But maybe, just maybe, you could pause long enough to ask, what version of happiness am I even running toward? And what if the kind I really need can't be chased? We've just asked, should we always pursue happiness? And maybe you're sitting with that answer, letting it settle. But if you're like me, another question starts to stir underneath. What happens when my happiness depends on someone else's loss? Can one person's joy come at the cost of another's peace? Maybe you got the job because someone else didn't. Maybe your lifestyle feels good, but it quietly rests on the backs of people who don't get to choose theirs. Maybe your comfort is built on someone else's exhaustion. This question is here, not to shame us, but to wake us up. Because happiness isn't just personal. It's also ethical. Asterisk, it's not enough to ask, am I happy? We have to ask, what does my happiness cost? This is where philosophy zooms out. Utilitarianism, the moral theory of the greatest good for the greatest number, tries to answer this exact problem. It asks, if your happiness creates more suffering than it relieves, is it still good? Yes, one person's happiness can come at the cost of another's. And more often than we like to admit, it does. You didn't mean for your comfort to come from someone else's struggle. But maybe you live in a system where your convenience, your fast delivery, your cheap clothes, your affordable luxuries depend on someone else's invisible labor. And maybe your success meant someone else got passed over. This is where philosophy holds us accountable. Utilitarianism, The idea of doing what creates the most happiness for the most people asks us to look beyond ourselves. It doesn't say, do what feels good. It says, do what does the most good. Say your joy comes from working at a company that makes your life better, but that same company harms communities elsewhere. Utilitarianism would ask, does your gain outweigh their suffering? Or if your personal happiness causes real emotional pain to someone close to you, a partner, a parent, a friend, is that still happiness worth having? Utilitarianism doesn't judge your feelings, but it does challenge your outcomes. It asks you to look at your joy and ask, who pays for it? It doesn't mean you can't be happy. It means real happiness might come with responsibility, not just to yourself, but to others. You can still live a joyful life. But maybe the deeper happiness, the kind that lasts, isn't about having more than others. It's about choosing to live in a way where your joy adds to the world, instead of quietly taking from it. So the real question might not be, am I happy? It might be, is my happiness making the world better, or just making me feel better? Here's a question most of us try not to ask out loud. Can we be happy in an unfair world? Is happiness even possible amid injustice, loss, or suffering? Because if you've ever felt joy while the world was burning, you've probably felt guilt too. If you've ever laughed with someone you love while someone else lost everything, you felt that ache, that tension. This question matters because it forces us to ask, what kind of happiness are we allowed to feel? And at what cost? It's not about whether you're allowed to feel good. It's about whether your happiness exists in isolation or in connection with the suffering around you. Can we find peace in ourselves when the world around us feels broken? And if we can, what kind of happiness is that? I want you to figure it out on your own. Now, let's ask the question we often whisper when we see someone with the perfect house, the perfect body, the perfect life, and still, they look empty. 1. Why do people who have everything still feel unhappy? Because what we call everything often isn't. They have the checklist, success, money, praise, but not the connection, not the meaning, not the inner stillness. As Alain de Botton once wrote, the difference between hope and despair is a different way of telling stories from the same facts. You can have everything the world offers and still be lonely inside your own story. And that leads us to the next question. 2. Is happiness a choice, or is it shaped by external conditions? It's tempting to say happiness is a choice, like flipping a switch, but that ignores the weight some people carry: trauma, poverty, injustice, illness. Yet we've also seen people rise from the ashes of those same conditions, with joy in their eyes and peace in their hands. Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl said, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances." So maybe the truth isn't either or. Maybe happiness isn't a perfect choice or a pure result. Maybe it's a practice, shaped by the world outside, but chosen in how we respond inside. The world gives us conditions, but we shape what they mean. So no, happiness isn't always easy. But sometimes, the people who seem to have the least end up discovering the most. Because happiness doesn't always grow in comfort. Sometimes it grows in awareness. But has modern life made us more or less happy? We have more comfort, more freedom, more connection on paper. But somehow, more people than ever feel anxious, distracted, disconnected, and quietly unsatisfied. And what about the lives we see every day through screens? Can social media distort our idea of happiness? Because if happiness is now measured by likes, followers, vacations, and filtered smiles, then maybe we're chasing an image, not a feeling. And if we're always looking at someone else's joy, do we forget how to recognize our own? We see highlight reels and think they're real life. We scroll through someone else's best 1% while quietly judging our 100%. But here's the thing. Sometimes happiness doesn't look like a beach at sunset or a perfect dinner party. Sometimes it looks like stillness, like being okay alone, like not needing to be seen to feel enough. As the writer Pico Iyer said, the point of gathering stillness is not to enrich the sanctuary, but to sanctify the world. So no, modern life hasn't made us more or less happy. It's just made happiness louder, faster, and harder to hear. But if you listen carefully, underneath the noise, the trends, the endless scroll, you might find that happiness hasn't gone anywhere. It's just waiting for you, somewhere quieter. So what did we uncover, really? We learned that happiness isn't a possession. It's not a perfect life or a perfect moment. It's not what you post. It's not what you buy. It's not even what you chase. We saw that pleasure, joy, and happiness are not the same thing, and that meaning can outlast all three. We asked whether happiness could exist in a broken world, and found that sometimes the most honest joy grows out of sorrow, not in spite of it. And we saw that the pursuit of happiness isn't selfish, but the pursuit of only happiness might be. So now I leave you with two final questions. Would you rather live a meaningful life or a happy one? And if happiness is fleeting, should we chase it? Or should we create something deeper? Because maybe what we're craving isn't happiness after all. Maybe it's something quieter, truer. Maybe it's peace. And maybe peace doesn't always feel good, but it always feels real. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell if you want more deep dives into faith, philosophy, and the questions that shape our lives. Thanks for watching, and keep thinking.